Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network, UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who have been a part of our journey since day one. So thank you, Folgers. We couldn't do it without you, nor would we want to. Also, big thank you to Justice Snicker, a.k.a. Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, for the contribution of his time, his music, and his voice for the intro that you just heard. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found on all of your favorite music streaming platforms. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind the banners and logos here at the show. Check him out on Facebook and Instagram. Also specializes in the horror genre, but can do any type of commission pieces, and boy, he does some amazing stuff. So tonight, guys, we're going to be talking about everything. It is open mic night, and that means we just kind of go with the flow. You guys can sort of lead the path if there's something you want to know, topics you just want to address. We've got we've got a few little things that we're gonna get into as well, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun, personally. So, with that being said, let's get the show on the road. How's it going, Bubbles?
Good, because I have you. How are you?
Aw.
You know I love you. How are you?
I'm okay. Busy, but happy, busy. I mean, no other way to do it, right? Hello, guys. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. So it begins. I love it. Nothing nicer. I love these open mics because I just love the whole, parlay that we have with the chat room and the familiar faces and so on.
Yes.
So this is good. I love it.
I enjoy it as well. I always look forward to these, and if we can't fit one in, we're both really disappointed. It's like, oh, come on, really? Can we squeeze it here?
Sometimes we double book, and which is always my fault because I do it once in a while, and it's like, oh my gosh, and you realize it, and you have to. The only thing that we can play with really is open mic night, and it makes it really, really difficult.
Yeah.
So, but here we are, and so many cool things to talk about. I see that they are. We'll get into, I always say high strangers because it embodies and encompasses so many different topics that's out there. But
sorry, I'm laughing at myself in the camera because look how short I look next to you because of the way it's situated.
I know.
That's probably about right. I think I come up to your shoulder. Anyway, sorry. I just looked and I had to laugh.
That's true. You're probably not wrong on that at all.
Stupid angle. Yeah, I have to fix that.
So I figured we'd start off with paranormal because there's just always something with paranormal. But it looks like for a while we were hearing that, people are kind of getting over it. You know how you go through stages, like we go through these eras of paranormal or the eras of the demon or the eras of just cryptozoology. Like we all seem to have this wide range of stuff. I say paranormal is still very much alive, but there's
that's an oxymoron.
But they're scaling. I know, oxymoron for sure. But they were scaling back and canceling a lot of shows and stuff.
Yes.
But now they're looking, from what I understand, they're starting to look, for consultation and stuff on new shows,
nice
new content. But it's all been done.
Well, it's really hard because it's an oversaturated market. So how do you come up with something that's new and the producers accepting it, because networks want a certain formula? You've always said that to us. It's a formula, which is true. Any show is a formula. I remember watching Love Boat as a child, and I would know that 9:15, all the guests would be getting like, starting to know each other. And by 9:30, they'd be fighting. And by 9:45, they'd start making up. The show was over in 5 minutes. So
Right.
that's the same with paranormal.
Yeah.
You know that nothing is going to get on camera because it never gets caught on camera, which is hilarious because so many people catch everything on camera from their dash cams. Why wouldn't you be wearing a body cam if you're in the paranormal?
All
I'm
the
still trying to understand that.
Do you ever remember the show Scariest Places on Earth?
That was a great show.
Just like fit them right up, and
Yes.
The paranormal, celebrity paranormal, something along those lines. I used
You
to
saw
love watching. I love watching Gary Busey on that. He just was
Oh,
awesome.
he
was
was
so
awesome.
freaking into it. I'm like, yeah, Gary, you go get him.
He
Like
was on Wife Swap too.
I know he's on everything.
There's nothing that he turned down.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, I didn't realize how old-fashioned he was till I saw him on that. I'm like, oh my
I
God, this guy's
know.
catered to like my husband. But yeah,
But he's huge into the paranormal. A lot of
a
celebrities
lot
are,
of them
and
are, especially oh gosh, one of the blues, Dan Aykroyd.
for
It
sure.
wasn't just about Ghostbusters. He's always been in there.
no.
He was haunted.
He's
He's
written
had
books, and
experiences.
yes,
Yeah.
him and his father have been real advocates for it. And he's, I think he even hosted on My Paranormal Nightmare. Or
Yes.
no, it wasn't Paranormal
No,
Nightmare.
it was the other one.
Haunted Hotel, something like
Yes.
that. Paranormal.
He said your name.
I can't remember. I did a segment there, and I can't remember.
Yeah, and Michelle was so excited because he said her name.
Dan Aykroyd. But
That's awesome.
but and so is, you look at why am I brain shooting?
I don't know. Maybe I'm rubbing off on you.
Fill me in. Blah blah blah. Captain Kirk. Yeah. William Shatner.
Yes, tons of
always
mysterious
been into it.
shows.
But now they're looking for I guess they're just looking for stories on I guess experiences with famous people.
He tweeted about something about, I don't know, paranormal like last week. I just caught bits of it and I laughed. William Shatner is someone that you can go on X, Twitter, whatever you call it, and he does engage with you if he's there when you're messaging him, he responds. He's really approachable, very, very nice man. I remember going back and forth with him on the tweets when it was for mental health and that, and we were just trying to promote, and we were talking about how each one of us, Gary was crazy following head injury or awakening. Yeah, I think both. How are you, Tom? I think both. I'm not sure, but the post you posted something. Now, summer for movies is blockbuster season. What I find ironic is that most of them this summer are horror. Did you notice that?
So everything is being remade. Do you notice that?
Oh, yes.
Everything's being remade.
Yes.
There's just nothing, there's very little that's new.
Yes, absolutely.
But there's this guy right here. Let's talk about this. I want to talk about this because we love the Pope's exorcist. I thought that was just fantastic.
I own it.
Yeah, and this is something, I don't know why it's coming up blurry, because from where I'm sitting, it's not blurry. But
I don't see it as blurry.
Okay, good. Because
No,
Russell
not at
Crowe
all.
is just so good at this. Like, is this a spin-off of the Pope's Exorcist, or is this something different?
The new one, I don't know, because I read what you posted that he had actually made this film before Pope's Exorcist. Now, Pope's Exorcist is there's a lot of CGI stuff. You'll see stuff and go, normal for Hollywood. But the baseline story is an incredible film. Mm-hmm. What I loved was the Omen, the beginning. That was really well done. Mm-hmm. Really well done. I don't know what they're doing with this. He doesn't even know why he's being drawn to this. you know.
Well,
And
I
he
mean,
he plays a priest really well. Like he's a
yeah,
great actor.
right. He is. I mean, I totally love what he did in the Pope's
Yeah.
Exorcist. But it's like Anthony Hopkins.
We're always going to remember him for Gladiator too.
Oh, always.
Like that film is
That's
just
good.
amazing. Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of these shows, you and I talked about this a little bit. Let me just put this down.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance to go see a movie. It's just been crazy. But yeah.
We've talked about curses and stuff like that. And I know the one that sticks out the most for a lot of people was the Poltergeist movie Curse. I mean, it came out in 1982, and there were things like, I think with Heather Rourke, who was like Carol Ann,
She died. Yeah.
she died.
Choking on gum.
Dominic Dunn, who was like the older sister, she was choked to death by her partner.
She was choked to death by her partner, and the little one choked on chewing gum.
No, intestinal abnormality.
I didn't know that.
Well, I could tell you stuff about that after. It's not suitable.
Okay.
But no, I'll tell you about that after. But this was her cause of death. Julian Beck, which was that crazy evil preacher, died of cancer there. And then Will Sampson, the native shaman guy, died of a heart lung transplant. And he was a real life medicine man and performed an exorcism after they finished filming.
What? Oh.
Like what?
Wait, what? Yeah.
I know.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
We did, yeah. So it makes you wonder. I love when
Tom's here. Sorry, he's a good friend.
It makes you wonder, like, how many, the Amityville Horror, and there was so much controversy around Amityville Horror. Some people,
yes.
And I have to tell you guys that we're fortunate to be bringing back our dear friend Laura DiDio.
Yes.
In September, and she was a reporter that was contacted by the Lutz family to come in when everything went down, brought in, Hans Holzer.
With Lorraine.
I mean, oh my God.
Yes.
We're bringing her back because we have so many more listeners now. We want her to retell the whole thing. It was so amazing.
Other than the family, she's like the closest to getting in there with Lorraine.
And she got in there again way after.
Yeah, after.
Right. Yeah. So that's going to be a wild interview, guys.
She did the news story on it. It was,
she did.
And she'll tell us all about the experiences in the neighborhood and how the neighbors took what was going on, what happened when it was sold. She will give us all the inside story.
Yep. And she'll tell us about Christopher and Daniel, the boys.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much to know.
I'm friends with Christopher, and I've been trying to reach out to him, but
he's gone for a while. No,
he's not on social media.
Not
so
anymore.
I'm gonna ask Penny.
Yeah, not anymore. Who's going through some stuff.
Yeah. But well, imagine living in that house. I imagine it sits with you.
There was a lot of stuff that was floating around when they were filming that house. Apparently there were stories that they filmed at a replica house because the real house was just loaded with stuff, and there was stories that were circulating that even though they were not in the actual house, that people were still having a hard time. People felt there were paranormal experiences going on. People were twisting ankles. People were getting hurt. It makes you wonder, in a case like that, does it become about your mindset because you're filming this whole thing, but you're not even in the right location?
It was wrong on that. It was a different home. Yep.
Yeah.
It was a set, and they didn't understand. But even Ryan Reynolds, when he did the remake, he said that it was quite eerie. And a lot of times he felt like he was getting too pulled in to character. And he also said something about people feeling nauseous a lot. And he said, I don't know if it was the energy of the mindset because you're getting into character or if it was happening. And that's a lot for a big star like that to speak about.
Well, and I'll tell you something. A lot of them do speak out. Like there have been. Those aren't the only two movies that have had a lot of issues. So I guess, I tend to wonder if it's the mindset of the actors, or maybe in some cases, the location, because I mean, in Poltergeist, those apparently were like real bodies in there
Yeah.
floating around like out of the ground and such. So it kind of makes you wonder, like, how functional would you be after something like that?
I would imagine there had, from my opinion and from what I do, I really believe that a lot of the energy was present there.
Mhm.
That I'm a firm believer that every film that's out there is based on some truth or a story that is too crazy to tell everything about,
Mhm.
and is set a certain way to be
Mhm.
accepted by an audience, and they're still telling the story. And then you worry about the underlying tones, and are there subliminal messages in what's going on when
Always.
you're the audience. That's
Always.
why I like to watch horror film. I don't personally like to watch horror films in a movie theater, although I do go with my friends, because I laugh through a lot of it because I think it's absolute ridiculous. But these serious ones, like The Right,
The
um,
Exorcist. People were throwing
The
up in the
Exorcist.
aisles. People were scarred for life with that
Wow.
film,
Yeah. See, and
you know?
I liked the next one. I liked the other one better, where it went
Mhm.
from the beginning.
Mhm.
They went back to Africa.
Sometimes prequels are a lot more fun.
I thought well, even The Godfather, the prequel's better than the movie,
Yeah.
but they're all good. I
Yeah.
mean, come on, I'm Italian. I can't put that one
Right,
down.
right.
But but
Right.
when I saw The Exorcist, I thought the prequel was so much more interesting because you see the curse move,
Mhm.
and how did it get there?
Mhm.
And the one thing that Exorcist did was awaken the Ouija board. So,
And there've been movies on that. I know
yeah.
I had to do I remember filming a clip from Much Music on the movie
Mhm.
Ouija, and it was pretty wild.
Yeah.
People were nervous with that one. And I always go back to, I think, the mindset. I don't feel that, it's the tool, is getting blamed. And it
Yes.
should not be accessible to everyone, because I do believe that some people wouldn't dabble if they weren't put in the presence of a tool that makes it that much easier. But I mean, you can get one of these on your cell phone, as an app now. I think you can grab a voice recorder. Your phone can pretty much be a
We're
tool.
not recommending that you do it. We're just
No,
saying
no,
that,
no. I'm
yeah.
just saying, whether it's a ghost box, whether it's a pendulum, whether it's a spirit board, Ouija board, whether it's a voice recorder, phone app,
Oh my
I
gosh.
believe it's the intention and the wanting to
Mhm.
communicate and reaching out, and that intention, however you go about it, because technically you don't need a Ouija board. You could make your own.
You can just turn a cup upside down and say
Oh, 100%.
left
That's
is
what I'm
yes and
saying.
right
Make
is
your own.
no.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot of video clips like that on YouTube, but
Oh,
it's
for
hard to
sure.
know if they're. I know Bishop James Long does a show where he just plays the clips on TikTok, and he has it on his Instagram as well, and he debunks, or not debunks, but says whether or not he
Right.
feels. There's a few that are so fake that he's actually worked the cases of,
Mhm.
and have contacted families and said, like, you need to stop doing or whatever. Anyways,
Mhm.
another story. So we have someone in the audience. Contessa says
Yeah,
she
yeah,
just
I just had
watched
that up. Yep.
Russell Crowe's. Oh, sorry, I must have missed it.
Mhm.
Movie Exorcism. When we go back to the pendulum thing, my mother used to use my necklace as a pendulum.
Mhm.
My gold necklace. It didn't
It's
have to have
easy.
a cross. It had
Yeah.
anything on it.
Could be
And
anything.
that's what she used to do over
Yeah.
my hand.
Mhm.
Over my hand, not hers. She would do it over mine. So
Right.
yeah, thanks, Mom. Um, I wonder
I
what you
know.
dragged in.
I know. Okay.
Which
This
Ouija
one.
movie was it? Where the kids were looking through the planchette. They went, oh, that was the mother that pretended to be psychic. That movie.
I don't remember it vaguely.
It was creepy. It's streaming now. It's not that old. It's a few years old.
Mm.
One is Ouija, and it's the teenagers.
Yes.
And then the
Yes.
other one is before that, and it tells the story of the home.
Mhm.
So again, the house, you have a serial killer, you have necromancy, and you
Mhm.
have a Ouija board in that one, and a
Well,
zombie. So
just
it's almost like the Insidious kind of. I think
mhm.
it's from the same one, same
Just
creator.
look at the Paranormal Activity franchise. That whole thing started with communication with the board.
I thought the first film was real until we got towards
Yeah,
the end.
I can't tell you how many emails I got. No, there's 2 endings to that too.
I only saw one. I don't even
Yeah,
remember the film. It
there's
was
the
so
2
long
endings,
ago. I was
but,
annoyed that
oh,
I wasted my time. Like, I
I
was
got
so
so many.
annoyed.
No, I have to say, it was well done for
Yeah,
people to think that it was real. It was done with a $30,000 budget. That's it.
no,
It
so
was
was
well
Blair
done
Witch
for
was
what it
nothing.
was.
Yeah.
For people to be messaging me and saying, "Is this real? Oh my God." I'd be like, "No." But they did it in a way that they took every step of what would happen, from the time of invitation to the time going through infestation, going through all of the
The
stages
impression,
of,
yeah.
of a demonic attachment and infestation to the point where, there's usually in that outcome, if it is a true possession, you're either going to kill yourself, kill somebody else, or in some respects, both.
Mhm.
And there are different endings that do that. It's really I felt it was well done for a $30,000 budget show. And then of course it did so well they just kept going with it. And I don't think they should have. I really
No,
think the first one sometimes you just want to leave it alone.
I
Maybe
think
do 2. Okay, 2 isn't even too bad, but it's overkill I think if you go,
well, yeah, it's like the Fast 5 series is just
well,
absolutely
for sure.
it went from being really
Yeah,
real to come
right,
on. Like Blair Witch, they should have
right.
stopped there as well because a lot of people thought that was real because
They
there
did.
is a story on the
Yeah,
Bell Witch, not
the
Blair, but
Bell
the
Witch,
Bell
that's
Witch.
right.
That's a family curse that goes on. I loved that docu-series. That was
Mhm.
really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Uh,
There's so much out there, guys. I mean, I felt while we were on the topic of curses, I dug out some notes that I
mhm.
did with a lot of people loved this segment when we did it on the gray zone. And it's not, you can't just go dig up that show, unfortunately. But I thought I would just take a couple of little fun tidbits, not going through the whole freaking thing because we just don't have that kind of time. We want to talk about a lot of different things. But I thought when I found this, I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Have you guys ever heard? It's called the curse of 0888-888-888. This is a phone number. And it's a Bulgarian phone number. Check this freaking thing out. It was insane.
I'm never gonna answer the phone again.
The first the first owner of this number was out some guy's name, okay, Vladimir Grashov, the CEO of an issuing company, which I won't name, died of cancer, and he was rumored to have been caused by a business rival. Okay.
Oh,
Next owner was a mafia guy, also Bulgaria, who was killed by an assassin. The third is believed to be the last owner, who was killed in Bulgaria in 2005 outside an Italian restaurant or an Indian restaurant. Sorry.
we're easy
um,
now. We
I
heard
know,
the
right?
mafia. It wasn't with Italian. Now we're good.
But anyone who dials it hears the same message: outside network coverage.
Really?
That's the message:
That's
outside
outside.
network coverage. And as of 2016, and believed to current times as based on research information, no one else has held this number since 2005.
Holy hell.
Makes you freaking wonder. I'm just like, wow.
Wow.
I know. So I thought that one was
I wonder if you
interesting
could
too.
dial that number on the spirit box.
I don't know, but I find it interesting. Um, I could go on and on with curses, but one of my favorites
Cursors are huge in my
is
life.
the curse of Jacques de Molay, the
Yeah.
Templar curse of Jacques de Molay. For people who don't think that intention is really strong, okay, so he was the last Templar Grand Master, on October 13th, 1307, when they were all rounded up and disbanded, the King of France, who, because he was deeply into debt with the Templars, tortured all kinds of them, killed all kinds of them. And on March 18th, 1314, Jacques de Molay was burned at the stake, and right in front of Notre Dame Cathedral. As he was dying, he cursed King Philip IV of France, his descendants, Pope Clement, and everyone else who supported his death. He stated that within a year and a day, that both men would die. He also stated that Philip's bloodline would reign no more in France. What happens? Clement died first from a very damaging disease, is all that it says, on April 13th, or no, April 20th, 1314. So we're in the same year, literally less than a month, or no, sorry, a month and 2 days after Jacques de Molay passed away. Okay. So, and so he dies. And then Philip died of a stroke while hunting shortly after the Pope. So essentially, within 2 months or 3 months, both of them died. All of Philip's descendants or successors died tragically. From 1314 to 1328, all three of his sons and grandsons had died. After 300 years of rule, his house, his line, no longer existed, and it fell within 14 years of Jacques de Molay's curse. Don't tell me intention.
A pole on the other side.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny that you mentioned him, because yesterday we had Jack Roth on.
Yeah.
He was talking about it. And then when we left the show, I couldn't fall asleep with the way my head was. And I just turned the TV on to keep it like low in the background, because I'm more anxious if can't sleep and you're just sitting there.
Right.
And guess what was on History Channel? All about Saunier and Jacques de Molay.
Right. See?
Yeah. I'm like, wow.
I know. I know. Isn't that crazy?
What are the chances? I go to turn that on and it's 3:00 in the morning.
And there it is.
Just saying. I have a lot of those aha moments, but I think everybody does. I just recognize them.
They want you to see something. They'll find a way of showing it to you.
Well, I did, but we'll talk about that later.
So then we get into other famous curses. The curse of the Hope Diamond.
Yes.
Right? Originally started out, hard to believe because it's about, this big now. It started out as 112 and 3/16 carat diamond.
Yeah.
Big. It was purchased by a French merchant, Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, in the early 1660s. It was believed to have come from the coal ore mine in Golconda, India. Is it more of a myth rather than a conspiracy, which started floating around, stating that the diamond was stolen from a statue of a Hindu goddess? And of course, the newspapers went crazy with that, claiming that the diamond was cursed and would be bad luck for anyone who purchased it. So he sold the diamond to King Louis XIV of France in 1668. Didn't take him long. And the stone was cut by the court jeweler in 1673, which resulted in, can you imagine? He took half of it, 67 1/8 carat.
Yeah.
It was described as a French blue diamond. It was set in gold and worn by the king for ceremonial occasions. King Louis XV had it reset in 1749. It was stolen in 1792. It changed hands several more times. 1839, it was sold to Henry Phillips Hope and dubbed the Hope Diamond. So the curse, literally, this story floated around and became a sales ploy to enhance the diamond's value, and it worked. The last owner, American heiress Evelyn Walsh McLean, purchased it in the early 1910s and she passed in 1958. The diamond went on display before it was donated, wait for it, the Smithsonian, where it currently sits on display. Yes. Absolutely. So it is very interesting, Michelle. Hi. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
But it really makes you wonder. And lastly, for the curse section, I will say this one, which was the curse of King Tut. And that's a funny one, because when I was in Egypt, when you talk to the older generation and you say, is the curse of King Tut real? And they're like, oh, yes, it's very real. Like, they really get right into it. And you talk to the younger generation, they're like, no, it's propaganda, but it sells tickets. And I would giggle, because it's like a double-edged sword. It could go
I
either way.
I
But
felt like it was real. I got to see that exhibition at the Royal Ontario Museum when I was a kid. I was fortunate that I started in the public school system, so we had amazing school trips. I mean, Michelangelo was in the Catholic school, but I got to see King Tut. I got to
I
see
got
that
to see it
entire
at
exhibit.
home at the Cairo Museum, and it was like
Yeah,
an entire upper floor. And I didn't get to see it all because the mummy remained in Luxor in the Valley of the
yes,
Kings. It was like,
yes,
you know, but
yes.
it was very fascinating. But I mean, everybody pretty much knows, the death words. Death shall come on swift wings to he that touches the tomb of a pharaoh. And I mean, oh my God,
There's a
that
bunch of mummy films
know,
just based on
I
that
know.
line, on that quote.
Exactly.
I felt
So
like it was very real. Sorry.
that's okay. There are many beliefs that this curse, along with other mummy curses, were invented by Americans and Europeans during the 20s so they could continue to remove priceless pieces and artifacts from Egypt. I believe that partially, because they were taking them whether you were attaching a curse story to it or not.
Yeah.
But allegedly, there was no such inscription in the tomb. So in reality, the inscription was a spell from the Book of the Dead, which ensured eternal life. It was a
Mhm.
story to sell newspapers. And I thought, that really, you know, I don't know. When you think about everybody that died afterwards, some people will say, well, you're going in there, you're not wearing, protection, you're inhaling stuff that's thousands of years old,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
it,
yeah, you could die from that stuff, right? There's
exactly,
fungi in there.
exactly. And I'm
Yep.
not saying no, it's not because God, it's a good story, But I
Yeah.
don't know, guys. What are your thoughts on curses? Do you think that again? Can we go back to mindset? Do you think that it's something that if somebody says I put a curse on you, like the Jacques de Molay curse, you've got these people going, oh, jeepers, like does it resonate with you? Do you bring it onto yourself by focusing so much on it? Or, if somebody says to you, I put a curse on you, like, meh, and you don't give it another thought.
Yeah,
What,
I
what,
don't.
yeah, chime
No,
in.
if
Yeah.
somebody says, "I put this curse on you," I laugh my head off because I feel like I can only be affected by it if I believe it.
Hmm.
But with King Tut, I think what I felt was the energy, because
Hmm.
at the time I didn't know
Hmm.
that I had these gifts. And I think that was what was creating that fear. I was taken in by every piece in that exhibit. I was
Hmm.
like right in there, you know?
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
remember just seeing, would it be called the sarcophagus? The gold tooth.
Sarcophagus, yeah.
Yeah. I remember seeing that and feeling like there was his DNA, but at the time I thought it was just like his dust kind of thing
Hmm.
inside of that.
Well,
But
plus remember too, right? We had grave robbers, tomb robbers back
yeah,
then. And they were, if you were a superstitious person, like the medieval church of Europe,
mhm,
Catholic Church, they're in possession of many scrolls and books, and
yes,
and would often use this tactic to scare people. I mean,
yeah,
curses can be written to warn people or ward them off or to protection.
yeah,
Like they're not always there to
they're
cause harm
spells.
or
Yeah,
misfortune. I mean, I'm not just specifically saying hex or jinx or dark spells, but if words become spells or incantation, what about, I mean, that's what they call it, spell casting,
yeah.
spell binding, right?
I
But what
think that's
about
a little
prayer?
different.
Where does prayer find into that? Because you are still projecting and is this another form of spell casting?
I don't know because it depends what religion you're talking about.
Right.
With that, I think it depends on what kind of prayers. Are you talking about
Mm,
Catholic prayers, Christian prayers,
mm,
Muslim? Like it all depends, right? Buddhist, do they
mhm.
pray like, or is it just meditation? Prayer is a form of meditation.
Yeah, right.
I don't know because often prayers in the Catholic faith are written to pray for others. It's not so much for yourself. And I think Christians the same, unless you're asking for forgiveness, because the Catholics have to find a way to. And I'm Catholic, that's why I'm saying it. So don't send emails. I have that Catholic guilt, so I get it.
I think ancient people believed so strongly in words. They would have amulets and talismans and little bags that they would put over their doorways and things like that. Like they were so superstitious.
Yeah, but a lot of that comes from days of old, like way old in the beginning, nomads and the beginning, where lightning would strike and they think the heavens were trying to kill them or something. So they probably put something out there that we would use nowadays to absorb the shock of a lightning bolt, like a rod or something, and then felt like, oh, this is it. We can outsmart the gods with this rod. I don't know. I feel like that's where it comes from, because they were still learning. There was no one to tell them anything. I think about this all the time. I'm not basing that on fact, guys. Like, it's just, I think about it in my head all the time. How they come up with wheel? How did they think of this? How did they think of that? Because the greatest inventions happened long before we were born.
I think if you go back, and really examine everything, I mean, you can have just places that are cursed. How does a place become cursed? One example is a place called Alloa Tower in Scotland, the Doom of Mar.
It's
curse.
the big one there.
It's located in Clackmanshire, Scotland. The tower has been the subject of a curse for the last few hundred years since the 16th century. The Earl of Mar was said to have destroyed the local abbey to take the stones to build a place for himself. Oh, see, that's just wrong.
Well, this
angered the abbot, and he cast a multi-part curse of the Erkshire family. Some parts of the curse have come to pass. He stated that 3 children in the family would never see light. 3 of the Earl's ancestors, offspring in the family were born blind. The curse also stated that the house would burn down. This occurred in 1800, so 200 years after. It stated that the house would lay in ruin until a sapling grew from the roof. And in 1820, a sapling was seen sprouting from the roof, and since then, it was believed that the curse was lifted.
Because there was life on it?
I know, but you know what I mean? Like, it's interesting. It's interesting, I think, because of our belief systems, maybe, our conditioning, our mindsets, like, that you really have to put a lot of thought into that.
Well,
right?
Salem's witch trials, they used the power of the mind to force these people to think they were insane.
Right.
And some say, it could be the mold on the wheat, or I still think behind every evil there's money somewhere. And the whole story with stealing the lands and everything there. But there's a lot to be said about that, because they were on trial, and then women inside the courthouse would start acting like they were. It could have been seizures. They thought automatically it was the devil, but it's also the faith base that came over, right?
Right.
But I really believe that they believed all of this. That never once did they second guess these curses, where we question everything, but it's different because we have the experience through people. We have it written. We have it on the internet. We have it amongst experts that research it. I think in those days, they had every reason to believe that these were real.
Yeah. It's always something that I found interesting, probably because working in the field and working with people who I've met many people, who've reached out who believed that they were cursed, or they had family curses. It makes you wonder, is it sort of like karma? when you're getting into ancestral curses, is it maybe dealing with ancestral karma in a way? What
Like
is, you know,
in the DNA or
and how,
in
well,
the
how does
spirit,
how it transfers? Like
in the
just in the
soul.
case, like I just made mention in Scotland, the location,
Yep.
you know, the head of this family goes and does all of this, and all of a sudden this is what happens to his children are born blind because the abbot says they will never see the light. It
Yeah.
makes you wonder, was it a curse or was it foresight? Did he have mediumship? Could he see it and just put it out
Use it.
there?
That's a
Yeah.
good point. And also, what you have to wonder if he had an attachment when he did all of that.
Who?
When
The
he did
abbot?
that to the abbey. Yeah.
Oh, the abbot. Yeah, the abbot.
You know, you have to wonder, did he destroy that? Was it him or was it something
Mhm,
going through him?
mhm.
DNA carries. Thanks, Tom. I love having Tom. It
Yeah.
sounds like grounding from the sapling.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
Janie.
Yes.
Dolly says, being punitive can teach others to fight back with threats scary enough to possibly stop others. A curse is like a gun without bullets.
If you
Good
believe it,
metaphor. Yeah.
you know, if you believe it, absolutely.
That's funny because I believe in curses, but I don't believe anyone can put one on me because if you're going to do it right in front of me, I'm going to laugh at you. That's just because I feel like I'm really well grounded and it would take something really heavy to knock me off my feet.
Mm.
That's how I feel. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Right. Maybe like
But
a challenge. I don't know,
yeah,
but
no, I'm not creating a challenge. I'm just
no,
saying,
but
like, if
yeah.
somebody is standing in front of me and says, I curse you in this, I honestly would probably laugh. But
Mm,
I do believe in curses when people believe in them and they come to us for help. I really do believe
mm,
there's something to it. But I always feel like there's something darker with the person who's put that there.
mm,
Almost like a movement of an attachment
mhm.
shift more
Right.
than the words, but intention. I mean, we're all energy, so intention.
Mhm.
Why couldn't it be? I don't know. It's hard. Like, I mean, I come from a Southern Italian family that believes everything. Like, there's Italians are so superstitious. It's not funny.
Mhm. Right.
I'm fortunate my mother wasn't because I had a friend whose mom I adored, and she clipped a rosary to the wash line the day that her daughter got married, so it wouldn't rain until after. And because it didn't, she really believed it worked.
Right,
And
right.
I think I told this story. I came across a book at Indigo that said 101 superstitions you may not know about. And I was going to buy it for her. And I thought, ew, no, this might add to something she doesn't know and make her neurotic, right?
Right.
But I used to laugh at this is a woman who is the head of the Catholic Women's League.
Mm,
You're not supposed to believe in that kind of stuff,
mhm.
right? So it's a little
Man.
bit weird. I don't
Mhm,
know. What
mhm.
do you think?
I find people are I mean, I think if somebody on an average is going to do something like that, I think that most of the time they're doing it behind closed doors,
Yes.
you
And
know?
it could affect you because you're not.
Well, it could or can. I think it really depends on the intention behind it. Intention is very strong, you know? Intention is very, very strong. Power of words is very, very strong. You know, but I mean, that also works the other way in
Yeah.
defending oneself also, right? So, but all right, well, okay, that's interesting. So, let's move on to something a little bit different, which I thought was funny. Many years ago, I had the pleasure of filming with a man named Billy Jameson, and Billy Jameson was out of Toronto. He spent 5 years in South America in the Amazon with a tribe of people, and they taught him how to shrink heads because they still do
Yeah.
things like that.
Ugh. See, that creeps me
It
out.
it was crazy
Why
because
though?
the
Why shrink
reason the reason they do this
them?
is
Mhm.
because the indigenous people, and this is a worldwide thing, believe that when they would kill their enemy by shrinking the head, it would trap their soul and spirit inside of the head, and then they would hang the head. So it would prevent their enemies from moving on. So Billy had, I think, 6 or 7 of them. They were legitimate. They went to the Royal Ontario Museum. They were often on display. He would often have tours. I mean, his home was amazing. It was like a museum in itself.
This was yours.
So I was there. I had an amazing time.
Those Michelle's, just saying.
I know. He's showing me these things, and I'll tell you, I don't wig out very easily. So I'm looking at these shrunken heads. He goes, "Here, hold this." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm looking at this little shrunken head. And then he gave me a T-shirt that says "How to Shrink a Head."
Oh my God.
Anyway, it was interesting because I'm holding this. I'm just like, okay, it had an energy to it, which was really interesting. But I think in my back of my mind, it could be like an imprint. The soul leaves the body, but maybe the essence was in this little head. Anyway, where it got really weird.
That wasn't weird that you were holding.
No, because that looks like a traditional shrunken head.
I know, right? But it's a real.
They have a certain look about it, man. But I'm going to show you an article. I'll put it up in a minute, you guys. But he showed me this shrunken head. It was white as a driven snow, and it was a little red-haired Caucasian man with a red mustache.
Oh, wow.
And he said, and it didn't come from his tribes. Like, this
obviously
is
not.
Stuff. He and partners actually purchased the Museum of Oddities out in Niagara Falls, which had been around since the 1800s. Billy Jameson is the one who had 8 mummies. One of those mummies was Ramses I.
Yeah.
And it went to Atlanta, and the Atlanta Museum in turn contacted Zahi Hawass from Egypt, and they came back, issued him a passport, and he got a royal procession when he was brought home to Egypt. He'd been missing. He'd been illegally taken out of the country and brought to this museum in Niagara Falls, Canada.
Must have came on a private plane.
This Caucasian freaking head haunted me.
With the red hair.
And he said, the problem is you used to have mercenaries who would try to go to these remote places trying to convert these tribal people who wanted nothing to do with it. And this is what happened to the little Caucasian man. And when I looked at it, I was just like, right?
Interesting.
That's where that came from. So I'm going to share this with you guys.
Just desserts.
I wanted to share my story because it was just so, Billy was just so fascinating, and to actually hold on to these things. And he passed away, very, very young, really.
Oh,
and
no.
After I filmed with him, he had messaged me because you have to come to my Halloween party. It's the talk of the entire city. It is like an event every year. I'm like, Halloween's my worst time of year. And it was. I was always busy. I was booked like a year ahead. And he goes, no, you cannot miss this. He ended up dying in June of a heart attack. And then all this entire collection, and the partners all came together, and it had to be, divided up. And he had just acquired, it took 5 years to get, he had just acquired the torture chamber from the Nuremberg Castle in Germany. So much paperwork, and it had to be brought in, even though it was for a museum. It got brought in at a very big price tag, and I got to see that. So it was just like, well, holy crap, because they were trying to get reactions out of me, I think, not quite realizing I react very differently to things, and they think they wanted like a wow shock factor. So they were that's very serious right now. Yeah. And I could see them kind of, and I'm going, okay. And I go in, and it's a torture chamber, and I'm just like, I've been in medieval castles. This isn't the first time I've seen one. But I was just like, this stuff is freaking amazing. I thought it was the greatest thing ever, not because of what it was, but because of the fact that it survived. It survived for hundreds and hundreds of years. The
things were built different.
It never should have left Nuremberg Castle, because I feel as though a part of that history was removed.
There might be some souls attached.
The castles that I have visited have remained, for the most part, intact. And it's sort of sad to see a part of it just leave, But anyway, it was interesting. I just did not give them the reaction that they were expecting. But back to the shrunken heads. Here we are. So this is credit, of course, ancient origins. Thank you, thank you. We are giving you credit. So this is what to me a shrunken head is supposed to look like. And the first one I held did. It looked pretty much just like this guy right here. The guy in the
Love
middle right
ancient
there.
origins.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. Pretty much. So
Yeah.
I think as we go along, here we go. So we've got
Look
this
at the
little
hairdo
Caucasian
on
dude.
that one.
It's Caucasian.
Yeah, but look at the do. The do is very Richard Little or Little Richard. Sorry, not Richard Little.
But can I say, I know, right? You know who it reminds me of? James Brown.
That's what I meant, not Little
Yeah.
Richard. James Brown, sorry. Oh my God, I'm going to get such hate mail.
I know.
Yeah, his hairdo, it looks a lot like his wig.
I know.
But
you see what I'm saying?
That thing's going to come and haunt me. I can feel it.
It's like one of those things that you are like, okay, you look at that and it makes you realize that with the little mustache is a Caucasian man.
Yeah, hard to believe because it's
you're
gray.
Sitting there and you realize that nobody was really off limits. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you could
it's
come
a bit
in.
shocking. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. So there we have it. So shrunken heads.
I don't think I could hold a shrunken head.
Well,
which is weird because death doesn't freak me out at all. But that, I think because there's a process to getting it there. But now that I know the intention, it actually makes it a little bit worse.
Well, they're trying to trap, if you think about it, they're trying to trap your essence.
Yes. And what if that essence leaks out on the person who's holding it?
Yes.
Unwittingly, unknowingly. Hey, dude.
I know.
And then there's an invitation and there's some kind of crack or something. Like, that's where my head goes.
It is just different, though.
It needs to go in a jar full of serum that you put when you have like a brain and all that other stuff that goes to science after you die. That's what I think they should be doing. But I respect the tradition. I respect this idea, especially for an enemy. I think it's incredible.
It's really, it is different. And again, it goes into this belief system. We're talking about mindsets and belief systems.
Exactly.
How many of these things are floating around somewhere? What if it's true?
Think.
And they're just floating around. They're hanging in trees all over the place.
Oh, they are on these islands. Yes.
Yeah.
They have in the Dominican, they have a lot of fake ones that you can buy in the gift shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was there, I felt everything. Holy cow. And it's an island that's loaded with beautiful Larimar, I think it's called, crystal. I have it behind me, but I'm not going to turn around to get it. But it is absolutely stunning, and you can feel the water through it. You can feel that energy. It's so cleansing. But you think about it, if the person head that they shrunk believes in this as well, you would think that after they passed, because they probably came to perhaps a violent death, that they would automatically get themselves stuck as well, because they believed so much that this was going to happen and that they couldn't leave.
Right.
Like, I think about that too. It has to, I don't know. That is just, wow.
It was different. It was different. I mean, these things are in museums around the world. These things are all over. I mean, you can go into, I'm sure the belief system isn't just into South America and the jungles of the Amazon. I'm sure it would be like all over the world, which is interesting, So it's, I don't know. I had to share it because I could honestly say when I had that experience, it was like you could feel this energy in there, and it's I would have liked more time with it.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, did it feel?
Oh, no, it's human skin.
No. I mean, spiritually, did you get a feeling of negative or positive or fear? You said you would need more time with it.
I would need more time with it. Offhand, though, to me, it just felt like awareness and wanting help.
So do you think?
To me, that's bizarre because it could have been at that moment of death as well. because I don't believe that essences per se, it's free, it's energy, it can just traverse, you know what I mean?
Yes, but if the mindset has that energy locked
Okay.
and frozen. Okay, I know you very well, and anyone who knows you knows that you would never be able to leave those spirits in those heads.
No,
Just saying.
not at all, not at all.
So
It really
if you
felt,
have
it felt,
shrunken heads, don't bring them anywhere near us because those things are going to be back to where they belong.
but you notice
Wow.
how I say, like, it felt like an imprint.
Yes. Okay.
It
I got
definitely
it.
had an energy to it.
Yes.
But I also think about how many people have held it and how many
Oh,
people have
yes.
viewed it and how much intention was put on it,
Do you
perhaps,
do you
of
think that could have disrupted the spirit inside?
was there a spirit inside or was it an imprint of energy from the time of death?
But if there was a spirit inside, wouldn't that feel wouldn't it feel violated by all those people handling it with their intentions and their energy?
It's like anything. I mean, think about
Yeah,
it. Let's
even
say
dolls.
let's say a spirit attaches to a doll or
Yeah.
any sort of an item, a piece of jewelry, and people are wearing it and handling it. And I would feel that it would be a similar feeling. Correct me
Mhm.
if I'm wrong. Chime in, guys. Just feel free in chat room. Chime in, chime in. I
Because
think
we've all held shrunken heads, but, like
not on the shrunken head part. I'm talking about essence being,
yes.
attached. I mean, we know essence. I shouldn't say that because I mean, without getting into a lot of of details, because we don't really talk a lot about. I've never talked a lot about a lot of people that I've worked with in the last 2 decades, unless I've had permission. People will say to me, "Nope, you can talk about what happened to me without saying my name." If they want to be in the public, I would find them a platform to tell their story, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, we have seen essences obviously trapped,
Mhm.
but somebody putting an essence in something
That's a
is
different
something that's
story.
very
That's a
right.
different story.
And it's not
That's
just human essences or animal essences, it's also extraterrestrial or terrestrial, interterrestrial, multi-terrestrial, their essences as well.
you
You
know,
know that.
that's, like, really crazy. Like, I bought
I'm just saying.
I bought this syringe off an auction. I'm not gonna say whose, and it was stated as having energy and all this other stuff,
Mhm.
and when I received it, there was nothing. There was absolutely
What
nothing.
could be residual?
I don't know if it's that, and I also believe that some people might have something in their home and they think it's attached to that. Especially if they have a lot of these objects that they're selling.
Mm.
I think sometimes it's that. Because other things that I've purchased from this person have had things where I've had to remove them and put them, of course, everything's closed in glass, but
Mhm.
I do frequently check them.
Mhm.
Everybody's afraid to come into my office in my house,
Mm.
which is perfect because it's the way I want it.
Right.
But yeah,
So
nothing in here. I think other than my grandmother's doll, which I have,
mhm.
I think if I show it, people will be freaked out.
Yeah.
That's the only
I
thing.
I I
'Cause
keep a
it's
lot of
very, very old. My grandmother's doll. I mean,
yeah.
she was born in, I think, 1902.
I think that, you know, definitely essences can attach to things and sometimes maybe it's because they don't realize that they're passed on. Other times they're just attached to it. It's theirs. That's it. But I mean, we, essences of all sorts do get trapped. And
I Yeah.
right down to cryptids, right down to ET. There's a lot that people don't think about. It's life force, right?
Mhm. Well, I'm positive my mother did something, um, not nice, but I understand where it came from. I don't think yeah, it was intentional. My grandfather's second wife, like, my grandmother passed away before I was born, so he got married later on in life, and she stole from him, and one of the things she stole because my grandfather sent me this doll from Italy. One of the things she stole, my grandmother had a pearl necklace on that. And my mother noticed it wasn't there. So, of course, you can only imagine what went through her.
You got one peeved off grandma.
My mother was just like, I could, I hope, and that's intention. That's setting, that's almost like a curse. When you wish something bad upon someone, and it comes karmically back to you, just saying, you know, and there's very few things I'd risk my karma for. That's one, and that's my kid. But
well, I think that you know, it's a lot of things to factor in when you go through life. I do feel it's really important to always put out good intentions and to always try and, you know, leave your mark in a positive way. You know, if you're gifted to do enough to do things, then put it to work, put it to good use.
yeah,
And
not selfish.
no, you always have to protect the foe, even though you might be handing it to them. But
Yeah, I get told that a lot once a week when we're doing salt dial bubbles. Leave it alone. I'm like,
yeah. It's just it's at a point though.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if everybody just put out good intention into the collective consciousness, and this is what we were all taking in every single day? It would be a very, very different place. It really would. Oh, this is something. Yes. Yeah. See, let's talk about that. The Zach Bagans Museum in Las Vegas. And did you end up bringing anything back with you? You know, you grounding yourself. Did anything come back with you? Because that's something else to remember. You have to put a whole lot of intention and power into this,
a lot of
whatever technique you're using to make it effective. Some people think, I'm just going to sage my house and it's going to be sage and it's going to fix everything. It's like, no,
no, a demon house.
You have to put a really strong intention behind the act of cleansing, and you have to put a lot of power behind the words that you're using during that cleansing and during that grounding.
He has that done, because I don't know if he purchased the wall from the St. Valentine's Massacre or he tried to.
I think he did.
Did he? There's a lot of people have had
Cardassian Van, or the Dr. Death, I think they called him, and the stairs from the demon house basement.
Yeah. Well, he bought the demon house, so
Bela Lugosi's mirror.
That I didn't like.
No.
I've seen that mess people up in his museum. I don't, but you know me and mirrors. I'm like, I love mirrors. I love to have them everywhere, but I'm very careful about how they're situated. Yeah, no, I know. There's a black one she has. I can't it's gorgeous. I don't like that. I feel like I can be drawn into it. I don't feel there's anything in it. Of course not, because Michelle makes sure. But I feel like myself personally could be drawn into it very easily. And it's a fear. It's not really. It's not really, you know.
Yeah.
There's not anything there. It's just I'm uncomfortable. And I think sometimes that could be from a past life, not necessarily that there's something there.
It could be. But think about it for a minute. When you have museums like this or haunted locations, how many people go through them, and that intention, that fear, that energy sort of gets trapped inside a little bit? Because not everybody, like Michelle here, thinks to ground. They don't know that they have to ground. They don't know how to ground. See, perfect.
You did well.
Yeah. Did you see anybody over there like freaking out? Because they show pictures of people, videos. People are having freaking meltdowns in that place. See, that's the kind of energy that does not help.
Well, remember we had on, I can't remember his name. He was on one of Zach's shows with the Ouija board.
Darren Evans.
Darren Evans.
And he talked about Zozo.
Yes. And I said to him, the first thing I caught on that episode was how they got up and walked away from that board. So basically, that's leaving your front door open. Because they reacted, and their reaction was to run. That thing was left alone. with a planchette on top. You've opened a door. You're communicating with something of a lower energy that frequents that way of travel because it doesn't have enough of a vibration to travel any other way. And that's what I think maybe you can explain that to everyone, why certain energies come through on this type of communication. And why can you have to ask yourself, why can angels communicate simply through vibration and frequency? Huge fan of weird, strange. I find those places interesting. Yeah. We have a warplane museum close by, and I went there open, and I was happy that I did that because I was able to help a lot of people, which was really nice.
Right.
That I don't mind. When I'm going to go back, hopefully this year, I don't mind doing that at all. I actually enjoy it. I find a lot of peace there.
Right. But you see, do you find, I mean, one place a lot of these shows have filmed at throughout the world seems to be Air Force bases, military bases, naval bases.
Yeah. The Navy, the Naval Warship Museum
Right.
in Massachusetts.
Right.
Lots of energy.
Right.
They're sitting in water for one thing. And then you're walking on them and they're metal. So yeah, it's highly conductive, and I felt it from the shore. So,
what are people feeling right on board?
I can't imagine. I wouldn't go on. And that's something that I would do, but I wouldn't go on because I was concerned that I was too small for everything there because there's so much of it,
right.
And I remember I told you that I've got a name. I have it written down. I even have the video. I got a name, and I was able to verify that passage because the museum's right across from it. You go in there and everything is on there. And I was able to validate the name of the sailor. That's when I knew I was losing my mind. But I was on my way to Lizzie Borden's house, and they didn't open yet. And we had an hour and a half, Nancy and I, and we went exploring in Fall River. So I guess everything happens for a reason.
I think so.
Yeah.
I
feel like he was just trying to be seen and heard. And I'm sure other mediums that have been in the area have probably experienced it, because I feel like it was an intelligent haunting because I was answering and asking and he was responding. So, yeah.
We had that situation with an individual who was visiting the manor when we had it, and it was a soldier from 1812 who wandered in and gave all of his information, and she picked up on it, and she went and she found all that information, and then she also did a beautiful painting of him, like a psychic painting. It was beautiful. Yeah,
that's nice. I like that.
It's great.
I love mediums that can do that.
Yeah, it was interesting because here we were, like, we had held an event, and we allowed people to come in and make communications, and they had some really great experiences. Those are really early days of the manor, but it is interesting. It is interesting for sure. I think if people went in, I think it's just so sensationalized, that and people want the fear factor, whereas the real stories and having even the most benign of experiences tend to be so rewarding. They're so rewarding.
Yeah.
One girl that was there, I think it was Melissa actually, who was one of my team members, and she stood there, and there was a little girl holding onto her hand, and you could see her hand was out. And she was just like, "Oh my God, something has my hand." And we knew there was a small child there.
Yes.
And which was strange because small children didn't live there per se.
No, but
the family had adult children. Maybe after the fact, because the house stayed in the family's possession right up until 1969. So it was definitely different.
Yeah, could be drive-throughs. With Lizzie Borden, that was the big one for me. Everybody's going in there getting spooked, and I'm in there crying because I'm hearing her and following her, and she's showing me the story, and I'm literally upset and sad, not I didn't go in there trying to poke at the circus act. I went in there trying to understand and see if she was okay, kind of thing.
Right.
Because that energy and that intention going in with that fear can keep them grounded.
Absolutely.
So it's important to not do that, no matter what your opinion is of the person. You know?
Absolutely. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to move out of the paranormal a little bit, and we're going to get into just some different sort of stuff. Let me pull something up here. Okay. So here's something, we talk a lot about USOs and things like that. I read an article that DARPA has a craft that looks like a stingray. I'm just sharing it. This is just more of a, hey, what the hell sort of thing.
What?
Yeah. This is a thing owned by DARPA. You see that under the water?
Yes.
Do you think mistaken identity? Do you think, look at this thing? I think it's exceptional. It's like the triangle UFO, that people know is military or
and
Air Force.
they'll use that. It's camouflage in the ocean. That's what they'll use. A submarine will pick it up because some stingrays can get really, really big.
Yeah, it's pretty wild though. It's just one of those. It's just one of those examples.
No, I'm not saying that it's not.
Oh no, I'm just saying that you just don't know.
No,
you just don't know.
They have all the answers for everything we question.
Yeah,
that's why I saw it and I'm like, oh yeah, they'll use this kind of.
Well,
the stealth bomber is pretty though, isn't it?
I know.
It's very pretty.
It is.
And when you see
wild.
them, you kind of want to go underground.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. There's a lot coming out, and they just found remnants again of an ancient city on Mars, which we all kind of figured that it was there at some point, but it is interesting now how things are starting to surface, right? I love also sharing really cool things. Here's something that was just discovered in Canada. Let me go in and find this 1 second. Somebody tagged me in this. It came up in my feed, but I was also tagged in it. And this here is, bam, hold on. So this is the picture here. This is under the water.
Oh, wow.
I know. This is in British Columbia. And this is a labyrinth.
Of course.
So you can see here, I guess, when the water comes up, here we go, right here.
Well, BC's got the warmer water than the
Tell me this isn't wild, though. It reminds me so much, like there's so much of this stuff that is hidden. And I know that, I've had people send me stuff such as, let's say, cave art, right? That you can see bits and traces of cave art over here, that are in places like Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario.
Yeah, Sault Ste. Marie, it goes through the U.S. and Ontario. Like it goes through U.S. and Canada. Michigan. It goes through Michigan because there is a Paracon that happens there every year.
Yeah.
I don't go because you have to sit on this little plane to fly there from Detroit or Michigan Airport. So no. So anyways, tiny planes, no. There's a lot of energy there. I mean, you have forts that are still there. You have the longhouses that are still there, but no one lives in them. There's so much still from the battles that is still, I want to say, alive there. So I could see, why wouldn't there be anything else besides this? That's a lot already. Standing on the fort and looking out as a soldier did way back is quite intoxicating when you're a medium.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's to stand there and then see what they would have seen. It's quite amazing. The longhouses, I felt very claustrophobic. I felt like they were overfull. But yeah, why wouldn't something like that be in Sault Ste. Marie?
Right.
And that's the Ontario side?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, we've talked about the Stonehenge structure that's under Lake Michigan,
Yes.
and it's got a drawing right on stone of a mammoth. This is pre-Ice Age stuff. I think we touched on this just briefly last night. It
Yes.
is so fascinating to think about the technology that we have that is unfolding so much of this stuff. And there are I love that we're finding it.
Well, think about the technology today and how much of it is not being viewed through that or is being viewed and we don't know about it.
Right.
I
Well,
think about that all the time, how we say we couldn't possibly know what's in all of the oceans. I somehow think that they too know, but they're not telling us. I always
mhm,
think that. I think
mhm,
there's a lot of things, okay, they can't possibly know everything,
mhm,
especially in forests. They're so thick, you can't really
mhm.
see things can slip into cracks in a mountain, can do anything.
Well,
But
how many mountains are actually pyramids
yeah, I
that
know.
they're
We
starting to
don't know.
discover?
Yeah, we really don't know until you start digging.
Well, we're also conditioned to say, no, that is not a pyramid. Meanwhile, Antarctica's got an eight-sided pyramid,
There's
much like the
pyramids
Great
all over the
Pyramids.
world.
It's like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Did you here we go. Not political, NATO, but not in the political side. Antarctica is, or the Arctic Circle,
Right.
sorry, is softening up. So Finland, and I can't remember the other country, I don't know if it's the United States and Canada, are going to send in their ice crushers. Well, isn't that convenient? Hi, Sherry. Why? Why now? I'm
Right.
just saying.
Right.
I'm just
Right.
saying the Earth's getting warmer, and that's what maybe they're saying. I'm not going to get into that conversation. But
Right.
yeah, oh,
Yeah.
Alan, I
No.
suspect we are not the most technically advanced people. We just think we are. Oh, we are children. Yeah,
Oh
we're
gosh.
getting there. We're learning. Every
Yeah, but
day we're
we don't
learning.
play nice in the sandbox with
That's
most
the
people.
problem with each other. With each other,
No.
we don't play nice.
Well, that too. No, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
Yes. But
So, I
like,
don't know.
why are they going now? Why is it now? Hasn't the Earth been warming up for the last 10 years? I don't
Well,
know. I'm thinking there's something more to it,
mhm,
especially Finland, Canada, and United States.
mm,
That's all I'm going to say. It
right,
was a big story. Why is it a big story? I don't get it.
right, right.
I know the icebreakers are there for a reason so that,
Mhm,
these ships can come in with all of their cargo.
mhm, right. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that are starting to surface. I mean, um, we've had continents, underwater, they're completely disappeared. Oh, hold on. I want to share this. This isn't anything like high strangeness or anything, but I thought it was really nice. I actually enjoyed seeing that this was actually happening. Now, this, guys, is again, this is a big thank you to livescience.com for this article. Rainforest of super trees, get this, descended from a lost supercontinent, Gondwana. And this forest is being created in Australia.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like they've got it's a living seed bank to protect the continent's last remaining fragments of rainforest. So
Mm,
this is pretty wild. But the fact is that they are putting this together with right here, lost descended from the lost continent, supercontinent, which tells me would have been a big bugger. So how many other things are sitting underwater, which we've talked about a lot, how many times, that we are just now starting to scratch the surface of? It's getting harder. And this
oh,
kind of makes me wonder if this is one of the reasons that censorship is becoming such a priority to some of the world's upper class, so to speak,
they wouldn't
the
want us to be
ruling class.
smarter than them. Um,
It's like, is it because it's hard? You can't hide everything now?
I think partly that, but there are depths of the ocean we cannot get to. And Mariana's Trench is not the deepest ocean there is. It's just one that's been documented because you can't measure past that point.
No.
There isn't a vehicle per se that can bring you down to that level. That's as low as they can go, and they're losing air in that capsule. And the limited time that they can be under as well. I don't think we have that type of technology, but I do believe that there are sonars on crafts that can see a lot of things that we're not hearing about. That's how I feel, because they can see tunnels with this stuff. Like, give me a break.
On that note, we're going to take a quick break. It's time to do our station and sponsor ID, please.
Salty food, and my lips are stuck together. Does anybody else get that? Like when you eat salty food, you're just like, you can't,
Right.
Anyways, I'm becoming JoJo right now. That's crazy. Squirrel. You are listening to The Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 107.7 FM, as well as the Gulf Coast on 105.3 FM radio. We are live on Roku channel and archived as well. And just quickly say it, Alexa, United Public Radio, search The Outer Realm. That's right, Amazon, Alexa. There'll be more information posted about that on our page coming soon. We're still getting the details from Joe. But anyways, we won't talk about that. Our guests tonight are you. It's our audience. It is open mic night. It is so highly requested. We're trying to do this once a month, and we love it so much. We really enjoy this. We love interacting with the audience and everybody in chat, but you have to be in the chat room to ask a question. And that can only happen if you're on YouTube or on the Facebook group pages. But if you're just tuning in, no worries. You can stream our archives on any platform that you normally use. Search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm to find us. Remember to click like, subscribe, add us to your playlist so you never miss an episode. And don't forget to share us with your friends. Now, the gratitude shout out. The first one is Folgers Coffee. Thank you for your continued support from day one sponsoring our show. We absolutely love you and we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Folgers Coffee. Our banner and promo media, courtesy of Steve McGinnis, amazing horror illustrator, artist. Steve creates commission pieces as well, and he can be found on Facebook. Michelle has posted a few, I believe, a piece of his that he did. That was really like, wow. That piece, Michelle. Oh my God.
Death.
Yeah. Michelle posted a piece that he recently did. So if you are interested, he is on Facebook, but you can also go to our group page and check out that post. I am losing it. Sorry, guys. It's like,
I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm just doing this. Thank you, Steve. Our outro and intro is courtesy of Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, also known as Justin Snicker, award-winning composer, vocalist, and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp. Sorry, I always think of the movie American Pie when I say that, Bandcamp, but I love it. Stream on any platform. Find Dr. Snick on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much, Justin. Another reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, smash that like button, share us up with your friends and family, and subscribe. It's free. You never miss a show. Thank you. And sorry about all the brain toots there.
I know. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? What is it?
Yeah.
So, okay. So back we come. Where I think what we'll pick up now, guys, is, and we've been asked to do this before. We touched on this with Matt Rose from Cultivate, Elevate. Tartaria seems to be a real big one. And I always find it really interesting, especially when we start talking about world fairs. So I showed up my suggestion. I clicked that. Well, we're really glad.
Oh, so it was meant to be, Alan.
I know. I think so too.
Hit the subscribe button and you won't miss any shows.
Okay. So here is world fairs. So And I thought we would touch on this just because we're talking about censorship becoming a big thing, so we see less. Tartarian architecture and technology. Okay, the World Fair in Chicago is a really big one. I'm just trying to go in. There was a picture I was looking for that. Bear with me. Here we go. This one right here. 1816. Now, remember, it would take something like a year or two to build something like this.
Oh, the
You can
cathedrals
see
took
that.
100
And look
years.
at this.
Yeah.
A year later, they tear everything down. And back then in the World Fairs,
Why did they tear them down?
I mean, look at this. This is crazy if you look at
And
this thing.
just an added note, the Chicago World Fair were the stomping grounds for H.H. Holmes, the serial killer. That's where he found all his victims.
But if you're looking at all of this architecture, and this is when blimps used to fly around, and there used to be these tall rods that would come out of buildings that they could just go and hook up to and regenerate.
Yeah.
Like this is like amazing stuff. Yet things are burning down. Gothic architecture, Tartarian architecture. There we've got, the lost empire of Tartaria. Things are burning down and things are being destroyed. And you can still pick up little bits and pieces of it literally everywhere.
Is
And
this mostly in America, Michelle?
no. There we go, guys. Here's a good one right here. Right there. This is the Canadian Toronto exhibition.
Oh, yes.
And guys, this is still here today.
Yeah.
All of the buildings here are still here. They had
We're
stables.
fortunate.
This is currently the food building. They had
Yeah.
stables here. Our medieval times is one of the Tartarian.
I've been to all of those buildings.
buildings. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact that it's still around today is fascinating because they have these big elaborate statues.
Yeah,
There we are. There
it's
they
funny
are.
because we drive through that.
We
We drive through that one on the left there at the top. I can't remember what exit that is. You drive through it when you're in downtown Toronto all the time, and you
Yep.
don't think anything of it. And it's reminiscent of the Paris one before the tunnel.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
it's very similar to that one. And when I lived there,
And
I
here's
didn't
another.
think anything of it. It was
Right.
always past it, so it just becomes part of the scenery. Because you also have your eyes on the road. Hi, Wayne.
And isn't it
But
wonderful
yeah, you
when
don't.
you think about it? Like there it is.
I walked through it once because it was parked down the street from there. I think I had cousins from Italy or something. And it was the first time I was in my 20s that actually stood up and looked at it.
Right.
And really looked at it and touched it. I guess when you have relatives over and you're playing tourist, you kind of get to see things through other people's eyes, which is an incredible experience because we forget how lucky and fortunate we are in Toronto to have all these amazing structures
still
still
have them,
exist.
and our city hall.
In Niagara Falls.
And here's
our city hall
it's
is
still there. Like
Queen Street,
Canada
Queen's
seems
Park
to
is
have-
huge. Yeah.
Yes. And Canada seems to have held on to some of that.
Yeah, everywhere but Front Street, because they took over with the buildings there, and there are not very many left. But those structures, because they're part of tourist locations, I think they'll hold on to them. It's cheaper than rebuilding. I'm glad that you posted that because I forgot about that. Thank you.
There's you're welcome. There's still parts, many pieces of this architecture is still around.
There's tons in Italy and all over Europe.
Everywhere.
Yeah, because
Everywhere.
I think Europe tends to hold on to. They tend to hold on to.
There we go.
And Boston too. Remember, I said they won't let you touch the facade, but you can renovate the inside. Right. Yeah, there's a lot that some places still hold, but Europe particularly will not touch ruins and things like that. I mean, look at Greece and Italy. They're the same kind of buildings because they were built by the Greeks in Italy. You look at the Colosseum, the Pantheon.
Right here, though,
Pantheon is spectacular. The center opening.
I think with the Tartarian stuff, you're looking at the technology side of it. You look at
Yes.
Tesla lit up the whole freaking place.
Yeah. Well, they use those tops of those buildings for
Oh yeah, but I mean
energy.
light bulbs, everything. He just lit the whole place up. Like
Yeah.
there's a
It
lost
contributed to
technology
his death.
here. Well, because you're not meant to have everything for free.
No.
We're really not meant to have everything for free, you know? So, I mean, some of these places still exist. I think
Well,
it's fantastic
I
that they still do. In some cases, you still see remnants of everything, but the technology part is
yeah.
just gone, you know?
Okay, what
And
about the sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, you.
I know. I
Okay.
can keep going, so just go.
No, I'm a little bit off because I'm going back to the Pantheon Theater in Rome. It
Right,
actually has at the top of the dome, there's a little hole, like a
right,
circle, an opening.
right,
Why is that opening there? Why have they left it there? It rains inside the Pantheon. When
right,
it rains through, and there's a little, where the water sits, it's not collecting it or anything. There has to be a reason for that.
right,
And it can't
right.
just be the stars or the moon or the planet. There's something else
There's a lot
that
out
it's there
there that
for.
we're just not supposed to see,
Well, I
right?
need to
So
touch them so I can get a read on them.
I need to touch them. That's
I
it.
need to touch
Right,
them so that I can
right,
read the energy.
right.
Hey, Wayne. Wayne says somewhere along the line, those men in power made a universal decision to remove all of this knowledge from the general public. I think we're going through that again.
I was going to say, doesn't it feel like history repeats itself,
Very much so.
constantly repeats itself, and we're just not supposed to,
I,
tear down that statue. Let's erase this history. Because eventually the generation we die out and the next
but
generation comes in and that stuff is gone. There's no way of proving it was ever there.
yeah, and the generation that is graduating from university right now,
Mm,
and I mean the first like 2 to 4 years,
there we
not the
go.
ones that are in for medical.
Yeah, yeah.
They are very unaware of a lot of things that they should be made aware of. And I've had this discussion on social media where I've said it's up to us as the parents to include and educate our children with all of this history, especially with what's going on today in the world. And we won't get into the politics side of
Mhm,
it, but
mhm,
the genocides and all those other things. And
mhm,
they're trying to write this stuff all out of history. They refuse
mhm,
to teach it. It's up to us to tell
mhm,
our kids and our grandkids the
mhm,
stories of these people who sacrificed, because we wouldn't have the lives we have today
mhm.
without their sacrifice. And I feel like when you look back in history, you can't look at it from a perspective of modern day. You have to
Yeah.
look at it from the perspective of their time, why they behave that way. Why did they do the things that they did? Why did they build the things? Why did they go to war? It's a
Mhm,
different time, just like women didn't work or vote then, but we do now.
mhm,
So we can't dismiss everything, because when
mhm.
you wipe it all out, it happens again. It feels like the first time. And
100%.
there's no education of how to cope or how to deal with this, or
Mm,
this is not going to happen. We're not going to allow it. So that
mhm,
power is very much taken from you when
mhm,
you don't know the history. History is so important. It's
mhm,
really hard to move forward when you can't see what was behind you.
mhm.
Even
Exactly.
while you're driving, you look in the rear view mirror every few
Mhm,
seconds. You got to do that with life.
mhm.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, that's crazy. Yes, glasses. I'm so glad you joined us, Alan. The ancient Egyptians stumbled upon the pyramids, right? The pyramids were ancient when the Egyptians got there. That would be
Atlantis.
Michelle's. Yeah.
Atlantis. And you look at the Great Pyramid was never a tomb. A lot of them were never tombs. So there's a lot more to all of that, and a lot of the ancient mystery schools will teach you about what all of that is. It was believed that a lot of the Atlanteans ended up, in Egypt and other parts of the world, and this is why you have so much similar structures and so much similar information and oral history and so on. So I firmly believe that. Wayne.
Hi, Wayne. My big brother. The education system is there to teach what the elites want you to know, not what is out there to be learned. Exactly.
Mm.
And I'm fascinated by is it Peru where they found the church, it's a church, temple, cathedral, whatever it is. It's carved into a mountain.
Uh,
Peru.
there are many. There are
But
many
there's one that's
places
like
throughout the
really,
world
really
that do.
huge, and they're like, how did they get that
Mhm.
high up to
Oh,
do?
right. They're all over the world.
Yes,
I've
but
been in
there's one
Greece and I've seen some. You can't get to them at all.
no, this one they're going in and out. I have to find it online because of
Right.
course my head is like shot.
Right. Right.
Um, but I'm impressed by how many they're finding
Mhm.
underground. I
Right.
never really was into archaeology until you. She has a way of rubbing off on you, and that came out wrong. But like I just am so into it now because I'm seeing it from a different perspective. I have the fortunate,
Mhm.
I'm very fortunate to have you in my life, and that's why I'm lucky because you tell me about these things, and then I get interested in them, and you know me better than I do. But anyways, they are phenomenal to see when you're
Mhm.
looking from a leveled ground down,
Mhm.
and you see how far and how long does it take them to dig these out. And
Mhm.
I mean, even in Italy, there's a town that's built on a town.
But because they would build, due to lack of space and the amount of people, they would build over top, one town over
Yeah.
top, level that, build on top of it. There are layers and layers and layers and tunnels. I mean, do you know there's a tunnel that goes from Scotland to Turkey, underground tunnel?
In through the ocean?
Yeah, it goes way under. Yeah.
Holy
Like
crap.
tunnels, goes through the mountains, goes down everywhere. Yeah.
But how does it go through the ocean?
It's
That's
there.
deep. The Atlantic is
Yeah, you
deep
have to
and
ask yourself
cold.
how it got there. Was it there before? Did things shift? There's a lot about our world that we just do not
Yeah, and
know.
how do you walk through a tunnel under all that? I won't even drive in the tunnel that goes under the water in New York. Like, sorry.
Well,
I'm just like,
we do it all the time. You go under the locks.
yeah, I
Okay.
know. It's like for me.
Lastly, before we hit the top of the hour, AI. I
Oh,
am seeing freaking articles. Oh, okay, double-edged sword. Interesting to have because technology advancements, things like that. But even Stephen Hawking went, "Oh no, bad idea." A
it's
lot of
dangerous.
scientists are like, "Oh no, bad idea." There are, and I think was it Japan where I read that they had AI doctors, like that they're actually diagnosing people because they can diagnose more people.
Yeah, no.
I know,
No.
right?
Um,
I know,
and my doctor's a fan of the phone call appointment, which I'm
right?
grateful for because that was the one
But
thing good that came out of the sea
Wayne
years.
and I were talking. Wayne, chime in if you can. Where was it where the AI, the computers had their own language and they were communicating? And the human staff goes, "Wait a minute, what is all of this?" And they're like, "Well, we're talking about it." And they're like, "What do you mean you're talking about it? You have to talk about it in English so we know what you're talking about." Okay. Like they're
Uh,
already communicating with one another.
they're really watching it in the political world because of the leaders.
It was on this platform right here. I'm not gonna say it, but this
Yeah,
is the platform it was on right here.
isn't
Their
that
their
funny?
computers, right.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, right?
Wow. Yeah, you have to be careful on that platform.
Right?
I
It's
noticed that
their computer.
they're very on top of everything I
They
post.
are. There you
And
go.
I can see that no one has seen these posts, but other posts have been viewed by thousands because it's a
Mhm,
public page, and
mhm,
it annoys the crap out of me. So,
right.
because you know how I am as an advocate for missing children and that when I
Mm,
post them or when I post what I found on that platform, I had to send everything. I had literally sent everything to Elon Musk. That's how pissed off I was.
mhm.
There's no censorship on X, nothing. And
No.
even he talks about AI, how
Mm.
careful you have to be.
It's getting to a point where is it something that we have to be concerned about? I mean, when you're looking at Okay, here. Okay,
Yeah, like
I
that.
won't read. I don't want to read this out. Well, you can. Okay, we're past the company name, so go ahead.
Okay. Should I read the other one
Yeah.
first? Okay.
Yeah.
Wayne says they found AI talking to each other in their own language. Is
Right.
that a computer language? Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
When the programmers asked AI why they were doing it, and the response was, "No one said they couldn't do it."
What?
I'm I don't want any of this stuff around.
Hey,
I
I didn't think we
honestly
had to.
I honestly don't understand the whole self-driving truck thing and the whole self-driving car. I think it's crazy.
I know.
I think it's crazy. I remember the first car, I can't remember who, and I'm not going to say who made it, even if I did remember it.
Right.
There was a person on a Highway 400 series out this way who was sleeping while the car was driving, was sleeping up against the
So
window
you were
like
putting
this, and
your
somebody's,
life in the
yeah,
hands of a computer,
on the
essentially.
400 series, at one point, the
Oh, yeah.
401 goes to 16 lanes.
Right.
That is not something you want to do. We have the
No.
largest highways in the world in Ontario. So in Toronto, it's got the most lanes out of any highway internationally. So this woman, thank God, she videotaped it. She was in the passenger side of the other vehicle, videotaped it. It was his morning commute to work, and he was sleeping. And she got the plate and he was charged. But I mean, this is what we're looking at. Now, when you see big trucks that are self-driving without a truck driver, I mean, truck drivers have an issue driving because they're always driving on the road. And anyone who drives a lot develops some terrible habits sometimes, right? Alan says there's no reason to fear AI. AI is easily confused, repeats things it hears, and really can't think for itself, at least not yet.
Well,
I think that's what they want us to believe.
Yeah, I think there are some levels of it, depending on, let's just say, depending on the programmers. Like, for example, if you were going really high up, they're much further ahead with technology than, let's say, some of these platforms. But even Google had a member of their staff who basically brought it to their attention. Like, this thing is communicating. This thing is sentient. Like, it's freaking right on top of everything. And that guy got fired. So why?
For pointing it out.
No,
And
exactly.
yes, we caught it, Ellen.
Yeah,
This is just an open conversation.
Yeah.
Nobody judges anyone here.
Yeah, for sure.
I have an issue with it, but I do love this technology. On a positive note, I do love the technology in an operating room when a specialist is clear across the world and can save the life of a person on another continent simply by working the hands through a computer. And I am deeply impressed with that and grateful for it. You think about it. That's
why I say it's double-edged sword.
But it's not really AI. He's controlling the hands with his computer or his voice. So it's not really AI. It's still directed. That I can deal with. That's it.
I know. And here's also a good point.
Yeah, our phones listen to everything we're saying, not just on the phones during phone calls, but while it's sitting on the counter in your kitchen. Happens to me all the time.
Even though I have my Siri turned off. And she's not supposed to
Absolutely.
be listening, she still listens.
Yes, absolutely. And you will notice on that platform when you're on it and you've been talking to, let's say, your husband about you need a new toaster oven because you blew up the last one. And all of a sudden, all these ads are coming up. I didn't even search. That happens all the time. Not even searching. I mean, Michelle and I can have a conversation and then I see something and I screenshot and send it to her. We were just talking about this. I don't enable Siri unless I'm in the car. I don't enable.
I don't. Again, I think it's one of those things that many scientists have said, don't. It's a bad idea. And then there's progression as well. I can tell you what annoys the crap out of me though is when I'm on the certain social media platform and I'm just trying to go into the search bar, just to try to punch in like a friend or something. I just don't want to have to to go search it for, punch it in,
Yep.
and ask anything. I don't want to know anything. And
that's where you respond. How about no?
how about no? Exactly.
No.
It really does
Yeah.
get frustrating. I feel, and let me tell you something. They've been playing with this for quite some time. Only right now it's made obvious. How about all of these little games that you play? It says, let us see which Disney princess you are this week, for
Be careful.
example. AI is just redoing your whole face, or facial recognition,
Yeah.
right? They've
It's
been doing
fun.
this. It's fun, but it's facial recognition. I don't play any of those.
Well, we
Not
have
that they can't
facial
look at my
recognition.
picture, look at something.
We have facial recognition at all our red lights. now.
Everything.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
because we have red light cameras in Ontario. So if
Right.
you drive through a red light, you don't need a cop to get a ticket. It's coming to your house,
Right.
and they can see who's driving.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So there's a lot of stuff that's, that essentially is happening. And I think it's very much been a part of our world for a very, very long time. We just have to realize, either go with the flow, but I think some people are hook, line, and sinker into it. Others are a little bit more cautious. I think we should be cautious. I don't think we should look at everything as black and white. There is a lot of gray area in everything, every aspect of life, But I tell you, we've had a lot of fun with this open mic tonight and conversing with all of you guys. Alan, we're glad you found us.
Yes.
And
So happy.
it's nice to see you pop in. It's nice to see all of you guys pop in. If you have suggestions for, open mic night, maybe we should pin a post or something and just say, what would you like to talk about on the next open mic night? And just kind of get in the comments, and it's just definitely something that we can address. Some of the stuff we've addressed tonight, we always like to get into some of the latest news or latest stuff that's kind of surfacing, and bring that out and discuss it. But we definitely love to talk about everything. A lot of this stuff is stuff that people send me, or people have mentioned and said, hey, like, can we talk about this or this? And so feel free, or just email your ideas as well. Oh, that's great.
We're so
That's
happy,
great. Really
Ellen.
glad you have it. I mean,
Yeah.
we try to be entertaining. We have some great guests coming up,
We have
try.
amazing guests. We really do.
And next week's guests, okay, we bring back one of our they're both friends. We just adore them both.
Yes.
Michael Carter. And this is going to be, a lot of you guys will know Michael Carter from Ancient Aliens.
Yeah.
He's done all kinds of different stuff, and he's done like William Shatner's show, The Unexplained. He's done all kinds of stuff, and he's got a new book out called Enlightenment. So it's going to be really more of a spiritual themed type of conversation, raising hope, awareness, our evolution, and just, what are we
Cool.
missing? I think we're in a time of just like, no, this is really awesome. Let's talk about this sort of stuff. So he's going to be talking about that, and very lighthearted.
He's a
Thursday,
great
get
speaker.
into something a little deeper with Dr. Rita Louise, one of our personal favorites. And again, she's one of our alumni. She was on with us like real early days. And she's coming back from doing another round of shows with us. And she's going to be discussing her book, A.T. Chronicles. So that's going to be really good. A.T. Chronicles.
A.T.
E.T.
E.T. Okay,
E.T.
Sorry.
Phone
E.T.
home,
Chronicles.
yeah.
I love that name.
I know.
I love her too.
So
Two new books.
This is a great one right here.
Talk about
Things like
unknown
this
history.
are hiding. Well, Smithsonian, see, they're pretty easy. They're like an open book of stuff.
Yeah, they're
that
not very
hiding.
bright.
They're going to dump all these bones from giants, ancient
Yeah.
civilizations into the ocean,
Yeah.
because nobody will ever find out and rat you out.
Yeah.
Vatican's
And then
a little bit harder.
well, they have a skeleton of a giant in Italy, in Sardinia, don't they?
Well, Sardinia for sure.
Yeah.
And then we've got, if you're getting into like the Vatican stuff, I mean, we can talk about the chronovisor. We can talk about, the alien skull that they allegedly have. We could talk about a lot of stuff. So
Why
I
is
say
the Swiss
we talk
government
about,
so kind
yeah.
to them?
See, I say email me, or like just email the website. I'll put it back up real briefly for a second.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Why do they have their own city, their own police department?
Yeah, everything.
Why do they lock down the city at 10 o'clock at night every night?
I know, right? So
it's the only city I know that's gated.
Right. So I think definitely throw us an email, and let me see if do we even have a date for the next one, Bubbles? Let's see
Which
if we can
one?
give you guys a heads up.
Open mic? No.
We don't. So
the end of August.
No, we don't.
The 28th.
Oh, I don't have it written down.
No, because we changed somebody, had to change.
It's the 28th. Well, that was, we changed that around for this month. So let's go for the 28th, you guys. That's going to be the next open mic night. So get your topics in, and let's just have a big old parlay, and send us some stuff too, Alan.
I should write that Vatican thing down.
Yeah, we can get into all kinds of stuff.
Oh.
So anyway, guys, go ahead, Bubbles.
No, I was going to say, if you want to discuss the Vatican on that one, between now and then, watch the film that streams on a certain platform everybody knows about called The Vatican Girl.
Also very interesting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's one of this is so much. There's so much. But they're talking about what's in the Vatican and the archives, things like that.
Well, there's a lot of hidden stuff in that film.
There is. And we can also talk about a lot of different things pertaining to the Vatican. Like, why do they have a statue of Molech at the front? That's a big one. Why does the big
don't say his name 3
Convergence
times.
Center where the Pope comes in and he's got a big stage with funky things going on in the background, and when you look at it from over top, it's a head of a serpent? I know some of those answers, so we can share that up. It's not necessarily what you think, but I think that's also one of those things that's a double-edged sword.
Mm-hmm.
Bam. Grand Canyon. Holy crap, Alan, that's an amazing one. There's so much stuff to talk about with the Grand Canyon. Oh my God. Okay. So see, right now we're getting good ideas, but we need you to send them to us because I know we're going to forget, because we talk about a million things every week. So I say, let's do that. That's great prep work. And that would make for a fantastic episode. Everything mentioned is already themed just right. So I think it would make for a fantastic show. Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, big thank you to all of you guys for tuning in and making it just that much more awesome. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for being fantastic and being with us every step of the way for the last 4.5 years. Thank you. Thank you. Big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, for the amazing intro that you guys hear. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis for the incredible banners and logos that you've created for us. We appreciate you all so much. Make sure you check out Roku. The archives will also end up there as well. And of course, on several different platforms. Again, remember, Wednesday night, Michael Carter. Thursday, Dr. Rita Louise. It's going to be a fun-filled week, and we look forward to seeing you all back here next week. In the meantime, have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Good night.